Let's move on to lighter news now, and a news that will surprise, well, none of us. Disney's live-action remake of Snow White is officially one of the biggest flops in Hollywood history.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
What? So yeah, my agent would have punched me in the face.
I was intimidated, to say the least.
Rachel Zegler is reportedly on the run after the Snow White disaster. New reports suggest that after the massive flop, Rachel might be leaving her town and even seeking therapy due to the overwhelming hate she's receiving online. The Snow White flop was so catastrophic that Disney has already started shelving future remakes like Tangled. Now, look, Rachel is only 23 years old, and there's no doubt she's talented, but fans couldn't help noticing her controlling and narcissistic tendencies. And honestly, Rachel even admitted it herself.
I'm a narcissist.
Recently, these controlling behaviors have been exposed even further this time by her own co-star Andrew Burnap. In case you don't know much about him, Andrew Burnap is a hardworking actor who spent years building his career. Growing up in a small town in Rhode Island, he dedicated himself to stage acting and finally caught his big break as the love interest in Disney's Snow White. Andrew himself described the experience emotionally in an interview with People magazine. "I remember I auditioned for it. I put something on tape and sent it off," he recalled. "Weeks later, I got called in for a chemistry read with Rachel Zegler, and when I finally got the call that I got the job, I sat down on the ground outside and thought, wow, my life is really going to change from here." Imagine working that hard, landing a dream role, and then watching your entire project become the most hated movie on the planet because of your co-star's bad PR and divisive interviews. After the Snow White flop, reports said Andrew Burnap has been avoiding paparazzi interactions completely. Despite his good acting and hard work, his big Hollywood break got crushed under Rachel's woke ideology and negative press. And it's not just about behind-the-scenes rumors. Look at this post from End Wokeness, showing some of Rachel's own Instagram stories. It's not exactly the fairy tale princess image Disney was probably hoping for. This isn't just a career stumble anymore. Rachel's behavior on and off the set is being exposed by her own team, and Andrew Burnap's leaked receipts are only the beginning. Rachel Zegler's off-screen behavior reportedly made Disney's Snow White 10 times worse. According to fans and insiders, Rachel allegedly tried to control how several scenes were shot, especially when it came to portraying Snow White as a dominant figure. There's even a small moment from the film where Andrew Burnap's character introduces himself as Jonathan Princess to Snow White only to correct himself awkwardly and say, "Jonathan Princess?"
My name's Jonathan, Princess. Not Jonathan, Princess. Just Jonathan, Princess.
But the bigger red flag came from Rachel herself during the press tour, where she openly said that all of Andrew's scenes could get who knows. That's not a normal thing for a co-star to say, and it highlights serious controlling behavior.
You know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Rachel didn't stop there. She repeatedly mocked the classic love story at the heart of Snow White, even calling the prince a stalker, and insisting the remake wouldn't follow any traditional fairy tale formula. Now, some fans believe what happened to Andrew on set wasn't just bad luck. It looked like a Hollywood humiliation ritual. If you're not familiar, a humiliation ritual is a theory where public figures are allegedly forced to perform embarrassing acts as a loyalty test to powerful groups behind the scenes. For example, take John Cena's infamous near-naked appearance at the 2024 Oscars. He walked out holding only an envelope to cover himself while presenting an award.
Really not gonna do this? Fine, just give out the award then. God, the worst.
Of course, it's just a theory, but when you look at Disney's moves lately, it feels less far-fetched. Watch this video from an American Family Values channel explaining why Disney has gotten so aggressively woke.
My name's Nick. I'm one of Fairy Godmother's apprentices. I'm here to shop you around and make all your selections for the day.
And what I think is actually really cool this year is we've got a Pride Mickey with a rainbow heart, and he's waving the flag, and I don't know that we've ever had something, I mean, at least that I can remember in my memory, like this, that's like Mickey.
Rachel Zegler's Snow White completely ditched the original love story and replaced it with modern political messaging. Rachel wasn't interested in honoring the source material. She wanted Snow White to be a dominant figure with no romance, no rescue, and no prince. It doesn't stop there. Remember the SAG-AFTRA strike in Hollywood? Rachel made a bizarre speech at the protests, complaining that if she had to wear her Snow White dress for 18 hours a day, she deserved to be paid for every hour the movie was streamed.
I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess. I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
18 hours a day? Seriously? With everything happening behind the scenes, and with Rachel's controlling behavior now exposed to the public, it's no wonder her Hollywood reputation is crashing fast. And unfortunately for her, the backlash doesn't end here. Moving on to another major blow for Rachel Zegler this time, from her own Snow White co-star, Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot recently did an interview where she subtly blamed Rachel for the disaster behind Snow White's production. She didn't name Rachel directly, but when asked about what went wrong behind the scenes, Gal said it had to do with a lack of teamwork and people being too woke.
The way I see it is, if you want to have a successful project, then you need to have a very competent team, along with competent and well-behaved co-stars that are by your side all the time and supporting you. Unfortunately, we did not really have that with this production, and the greatest mistake any actor or actress can make when you are promoting a film is when you begin to get very political.
It's pretty obvious who she was talking about. Rachel Zegler was the only cast member publicly making political statements and constantly criticizing the original Snow White story during the press tour.
One like 1937 that we all cherish. It really was a very difficult production for me, if not the most difficult production in my entire career. We dealt with numerous setbacks due to some incompetence from our co-stars.
At the same time, Rachel's version of Snow White has now been officially declared the biggest flop in Hollywood history. Multiple sources and box office analysts are confirming it.
Move on to lighter news now, and a news that will surprise, well, none of us. Disney's live-action remake of Snow White is officially one of the biggest flops in Hollywood history.
It gets even worse. Remember when Rachel posted a TikTok attending her own movie, and the theater was almost empty? That embarrassing clip went viral and only fueled more memes about the movie's failure. Now, theater owners are literally pulling Snow White off their shelves. They aren't even bothering to keep it playing anymore because no one is buying tickets. On top of that, Rachel's future career prospects are officially at risk. Reports are coming out that after the Snow White disaster, other studios are reluctant to cast her in major projects. No big studio wants to take a chance on a political liability after losing millions at the box office. And if you think the tension between Rachel and Gal Gadot ended after filming, think again. Sources say that during the Snow White premiere, Rachel and Gal completely avoided each other on the red carpet. People magazine even confirmed that they are not friends. After the Snow White release, Rachel posted a tribute thanking the cast and crew, but conveniently left Gal Gadot's name out entirely. She said, "I learned hard lessons, did hard things, laughed, cried, turned 21, lived across the ocean from my family, made new friends, and completely fell in love with this group of people I got to work with for 3 magical summers in London." But no mention of Gal. Gal Gadot later said that there were misunderstandings and a lack of understanding behind the scenes, which contributed to the massive flop. At this point, it's clear. Rachel Zegler didn't just ruin Disney's Snow White. She burned bridges with co-stars, alienated audiences, and now has studios afraid to hire her. At this point, Rachel Zegler's Hollywood career looks like it's hanging by a thread. From the Snow White disaster to co-stars like Andrew Burnap and Gal Gadot distancing themselves, it's clear the backlash is bigger than just a few bad interviews. Rachel isn't just dealing with a flop, she's dealing with the industry turning cold, meme culture roasting her every move, and even theater owners pulling her movie off shelves because no one wants to see it. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Rachel Zegler's career can bounce back after all of this? Was Andrew Burnap right to leak behind-the-scenes receipts about her behavior? And is Disney finally realizing their entire live-action remake strategy might need a total reset? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we're reading everything, and we'll feature some of the best ones in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.